come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. You got a belly up to the bar, we've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Kelly is going to be your bartendress tonight. She pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is, in fact, lighted to my left, your right. That means that you can listen to the show on shrmedia.com. Listen and chat. That's the only chat room that I monitor or anybody at SHR monitors. shrmedia.com, chat room, and listen. If you want to watch the show, you can watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. We don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation here. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the Saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle. Don't forget to tip your waitress. Today, it's Tuesday, April the 17th, the year of our Lord, 2018. And some fairly significant people passed away today, yesterday, and Friday. Great Americans, all of them. And we're going to have a tribute in particular to one of them tonight. Perhaps it seems like deaths come in three. I'd have to say, unfortunately, this time around, that'd be correct. If I could get the media to play, that would be nice. And apparently it's not going to, which starts the show off, unfortunately.
This is an ABC News special report.
We're coming on the air with sad breaking news. Former First Lady Barbara Bush has died. She was 92 years old. The matriarch of one of America's most important political families, Barbara Bush first took the national stage as Second Lady to then Vice President George H.W. Bush for 8 years and then First Lady for 4 years. Even after leaving the White House, the political spotlight never far away. She, of course, was also the mother of President George W. Bush and Jeb Bush, the former governor of Florida and Republican presidential candidate. She is survived by 3 other children, 17 grandchildren, and 7 great-grandchildren.
17 grandchildren?
And, of course, her husband, the former president, who was also in poor health. Barbara Bush battled Graves' disease for decades, but most recently was plagued with respiratory issues and congestive heart failure. Sunday, a spokesperson revealing the former First Lady's health was failing, and she had chosen to stop any medical treatment and instead spend her last days in comfort with her family. ABC's Cecilia Vega has more on the life of Barbara Bush.
2 words to describe Barbara Bush: class act.
She was the matriarch of an American dynasty, famous for her fierce loyalty.
I hated it when anyone criticized my brilliant husband, and I furious when they criticized my son.
And her razor-sharp wit.
That same fellow that I used to yell at to please pick up his room, to see him as president is truly amazing.
Born Barbara Pierce in Rye, New York, the third of 4 children. At 16, she met George Herbert Walker Bush at a school dance. They were engaged a year and a half later before he left for the war. He knew back home she was waiting.
I would stand there.
By the way, if you didn't know, George Bush was a Navy fighter bomber pilot during World War II. He didn't phone it in.
And look out at the blackness of the sky, and I would think about friends I lost, a country I loved, and about a girl named Barbara.
The Bushes had 6 children, but tragedy struck when they lost their 3-year-old daughter, Robin, to leukemia.
Do you ever get over that?
No. And that's okay, too. But it's true that she is a happy part of our life now.
While George built a political career, Barbara packed up the kids, moving more than 24 times. Along the way, learning from a struggle with depression.
I think it was a good thing to happen, because now when I hear about depression, instead of saying, oh, pull yourself together, which is what I used to think, I now think, well, that's tough, and you got to get help.
But for decades, she was the rock by his side.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
The woman with the down-to-earth style thrust into the glamorous role of First Lady, an irony she would joke about when she got to the White House.
By the way, for those of you who may not remember, before he became president, George Herbert Walker Bush was director of the CIA.
Now, speaking of glamour, I want you all to look at me very carefully.
As First Lady, Barbara Bush left her own mark, promoting literacy. But it wasn't until after the White House that Mrs. Bush would reveal some of her private views in a memoir, including her thoughts about abortion.
You are pro-choice.
I think that's right. And that comes as no surprise to George Bush.
The family could always count on Barbara to speak her mind.
My dream for our family has always been they'd grow up, they'd get a good education, they'd be happily married, or they'd find someone they could be happy with, and that they would not think they were entitled, that they would work, and that they would then turn around and give back to the country because they're so lucky. And my dream has been answered.
You heard the former First Lady talking about her daughter Robin, who passed away when she was just 3 years old. We're told in her final days, Mrs. Bush mentioned Robin often and spoke of seeing her again. Barbara Bush was 92 years old. For more on her incredible life and legacy, go to abcnews.com, and our live streaming coverage continues online.
And unfortunately, that wasn't the only death that occurred this past weekend. I'm going to get to a tribute to a man who I related to, but first, unfortunately, not nearly as well mentioned by the media. However, impactful upon me was a man by the name of Harry the Hat. Harry Anderson passed away at the age of 65 this past weekend, and he was the star, the judge, in Night Court.
You coming, Dan?
You guys go ahead. I'll be up in a minute.
Hey, guys, now I'm counting on you to come down here and keep me up to date on things, you know, like when we get new presidents and stuff. Great bunch of kids, huh?
Oh, yeah, right. So, you're not a judge anymore.
That's right.
You twerp.
I beg your pardon?
You simp. You pathetic, whining, wheezing, jackassed twig.
I get the feeling you're trying to tell me something, Dan.
What the hell am I supposed to do now?
You?
Yes. I just get you broken into where I can handle you, and now I gotta take my chances with some new judge.
Oh, I see your point.
What are the chances of me getting somebody as naive and as ignorant as you are again?
I don't know, what, 50, 60 to 1, maybe?
Wait a minute, do you think I'm kidding around here, what?
Dan, I really don't...
Why don't you just shut your beady little face? You had a couple of bad nights. Is that any reason to just quit, throw it all away?
It wasn't a couple of bad nights, Dan. A kid got shot. Now, you tell me that if I go back, that's not going to happen again.
It will happen again, eventually. We can only do what the law will allow us to do. That's it.
That ain't good enough for me.
Oh, of course, I understand you want to change a little water into wine once in a while, cure a few blind men here and there.
Dan, I can't go back. I can't do it. It's too hard.
Maybe it is. I wouldn't know. Maybe all of those people you helped when they needed it don't make up for the few that you couldn't.
By the way, do you guys remember who played Dan? What was the actor's name? I do.
I'll give your respects to the downtrodden and the oppressed. I'm sure they'll understand.
You're not playing fair, Dan.
You were good, Harry. Very good. You were impartial. You were fair. Patient. Compassionate. Understanding. And I admired you. That's really getting below the belt, isn't it?
Ciao, baby.
And then there was another man who passed away. We just called him Gunny. This was an entirely uncredited role in Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now. He was the helo pilot. Listen to him. Lawrence Fishburne. Charlie Sheen. Here he is.
A large weapon down below. We're gonna go down and check it out. All right, this is
R. Lee Ermey, a former Marine who made a career in Hollywood playing hard-nosed military guys like Gunnery Sergeant Hartman in Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket, passed away at the age of 74. Ermey's longtime manager Bill Rogan says he died Sunday morning from pneumonia-related complications. He was age 74. The Kansas native was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for his memorable performance in Full Metal Jacket, in which he immortalized such lines as, "What is your major malfunction?" Born R. Lee Ermey. Now, can anyone tell me what his first name was? Because he didn't like it. I'll let you wait for just a moment. He was born in 1944. Ermey served 11 years in the Marine Corps and spent 14 months in Vietnam and then in Okinawa, Japan, where he became a staff sergeant. His first film credit was as a helicopter pilot that I just played for you right there in Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now, which was quickly followed by a part in The Boys in Company C. Are you aware of that movie? And again, he was in The Boys of Company C as a drill instructor. He raked in, I hope you're sitting down for this, he had more than 60 credits, depending upon who you talk to, either 60 credits or 70 credits in film and television across his long career in the industry, and he often played authority figures in everything from the movie Seven. If you never saw the movie Seven, that was incredible. And the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. But check this out. The part that he would become most well-known for in Full Metal Jacket wasn't even originally his. Ermey had been brought in as a technical consultant for the 1987 film, but he had his eyes on the role of the brutal gunnery sergeant and filmed his own audition tape of him yelling out insults while tennis balls were flying at him. An impressed Stanley Kubrick then gave him the role. In 1961, at age 17, Ermey enlisted in the United States Marine Corps and went through recruit training at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego, in San Diego, California. For his first few years, he served in the aviation support field before becoming a drill instructor in India Company, 3rd Recruit Training Battalion at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego, where he was assigned from 1965 to 1967. Ermey then he served in Marine Support Wing Group 17 at Marine Corps Air Station Futena in Okinawa, Japan. And in 1968, he was ordered to Vietnam with MWSG-17 and spent 14 months in country. The remainder of his service was in Okinawa, where he was advanced to Staff Sergeant, and he was medically discharged in 1972 because of several injuries occurred during his service. On May 17th of 2002, he received an honorary promotion to Gunnery Sergeant by the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General James L. Jones. And here, by the way, he, in that particular scene that I just played in Apocalypse Now, he was the Eagle Thrust 7 helicopter pilot. And he was the guy that was saying, hey, I'm going to go check it out below. But his first actual credited role, and you would think that it would be as a DI. Everybody thinks that Full Metal Jacket was his first role as a DI, and you would be absolutely wrong. It was his role in the Sidney J. Furie film, The Boys in Company C, a role that was so incredibly real because that's what he did in his beloved Corps.
I'm Sergeant Lois. I'm your drill instructor for the next 2 fucking months, maggots. Jesus, how in the hell do they expect me to train fucking Marines when they won't even send me human goddamn beings to start with?
This is 1978.
Sergeant, get these fucking people through receiving barracks. I'm gonna help you out. I don't want to drop in any of their fucking civilian slime on the way through. Jesus. When you are told to do so, you will reach down by your right foot, pick up your bags, empty the contents on the table in front of you. You will empty your pockets and place the contents of your pockets on the table in front of you.
By the way, his first name, Ronald.
Do it now!
What do you got in your back pocket? A diary.
Contraband, get rid of it.
Get rid of it. Look in my
Ronald.
Your pocket. Ah, nice. Technicolor rubber. I'll bet you're a virgin, aren't you?
I lost it when I was 13.
What? I lost it when I was 13, sir! Contraband, get rid of it. What do you have in the package there, Private?
Cookies for my girlfriend, sir.
Bullshit. Contraband, put it on the table. Oh, what do we have here? A little faggot, huh? How about getting your jewelry off there, sweetheart, and put it on the table? What do you have in your pockets there? Lipstick? Jesus, put the goddamn thing on the table. You will answer the following questions. Have you ever committed
By the way, it was a switchblade.
a sexual act with another man? With an animal? Do you wet your bed? Do you like to wear a woman's clothing? How often do you masturbate? Move it out, quickly. Don't have all day, ladies. Anytime, anytime. Move it out. Next 5. Next 5. Move it out, quickly. There, Jesus.
By the way, following The Boys of Company C, Ermey appeared in 1979's Francis Ford Coppola-directed Apocalypse Now, as I indicated before. Though, like I said, he was completely uncredited in the role. And he was next. I went to go find the filmography of him. He was next in this terrible 1979 science fiction film entitled Up from the Depths, and he played a character named Lee. He did, however, return for director Sidney Fury's 1984 film with Ken Wall called Purple Hearts, where he appeared as a role just Gunny.
People have set some kind of a new record today. You have fucked over these weapons so goddamn bad, they'll probably never fire again. All right, move it out, quickly, quickly! Jesus, get your ass back there and go over that goddamn bar. Let's see a little goddamn teamwork, quickly! God damn it, you're in combat!
But you have to admit that R. Lee Ermey's big break came in 1987, quite some time later, after 1978's movie. And he got that for the Stanley Kubrick movie, Full Metal Jacket, where he played Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. This is that absolute classic scene.
I am Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, your senior drill instructor. From now on, you will speak only when spoken to. And the first and last words out of your filthy sewers will be, sir. Do you maggots understand that? Sir, yes, sir. Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair. Sir, yes, sir. If you ladies leave my island, if you survive recruit training, you will be a weapon. You will be a minister of death praying for war. But until that day, you are pukes. You are the lowest form of life on earth. You are not even human fucking beings. You are nothing but unorganized, grabastic pieces of amphibian shit. Because I am hard, you will not like me. But the more you hate me, the more you will learn. I am hard, but I am fair. There is no racial bigotry here. I do not look down on niggers, kikes, wops, or greasers. Here you are all equally worthless. And my orders are to weed out all non-hackers who do not pack the gear to serve in my beloved corps. Do you maggots understand that? Sir, yes, sir. Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sir, yes, sir. What's your name, scumbag? Sir, Private Brown, sir. Bullshit, from now on you're Private Snowball. Do you like that name? Sir, yes, sir. Well, there's one thing that you won't like, Private Snowball. They don't serve fried chicken and watermelon on a daily basis in my mess hall. Sir, yes, sir.
You, John Wayne? Is this me?
Who said that?
Uh-oh.
Who the fuck said that?
Uh-oh.
Who's the slimy little communist shit twinkle-toed cocksucker down here who just signed his own death warrant? Nobody, huh? The very fucking godmother said it. I'm fucking standing. I will PT you all until you fucking die. I'll PT you until your assholes are sucking buttermilk. Was it you scroungy little fuck, huh? Sir, no, sir. You little piece of shit, you look like a fucking worm. I bet it was you. Sir, no, sir.
Sir, I said it, sir.
Uh-oh.
Well, no shit. What have we got here? A fucking comedian, Private Joker. I admire your honesty.
And that became his name.
You can come over to my house and fuck my sister. You little scumbag. I got your name. I got your ass. You will not laugh. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers. I will teach you. Now get up. Get on your feet. You had best unfuck yourself or I will unscrew your head and shut down your neck.
Sir, yes, sir.
Private Joker, why did you join my beloved corps?
Sir, to kill, sir.
So you're a killer?
Sir, yes, sir.
Let me see your war face.
Sir.
You got a war face?
Let me see your war face.
That's a war face. Now let me see your war face.
Ah!
Bullshit. You didn't convince me. Let me see your real war face.
Ah!
You don't scare me. Work on it.
Sir, yes, sir.
What's your excuse?
You don't scare me. Work on it. And then R. Lee Ermey talked about, hey, how did he get that role anyway in the Kubrick movie? What did he do to have to get to that role? And why did he want it? Because that wasn't his first role there. Well, he wanted it so badly. It wasn't his first assignment. However, he was recognized.
In Stanley Kubrick's 1986 Vietnam War film Full Metal Jacket, R. Lee Ermey would become famous as Marine drill instructor Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. 20 years earlier, Ermey had been a real sergeant, training Marines to go to Vietnam.
In 1966, the sky fell in on us. The roof caved in, and all of a sudden, they needed warm bodies in Vietnam.
now we're picking up 120 privates, which if you line 120 privates up, boy, oh boy, it looks like a mule train. So we got twice as many privates. We've got 4 weeks left to train them in. But yet, now, we're not just infiltrating these privates into modern-day Marine Corps. Now we're sending these privates to Vietnam to fight the war.
From 1966 through 1973, sergeants in the Marine Corps trained over 335,000 new recruits.
Anybody that's been in the military knows that's an astounding.
All of them came through the Marine Corps recruit depots in Parris Island, South Carolina, or San Diego, California, where Lee Ermey served from 1966 through 1968.
You can't hold yourself responsible, but you feel that you are. You feel that you have a lot to say about whether they're prepared to go into combat or whether they're not. There's not a sergeant in the Marine Corps that doesn't feel that they're ultimately responsible, totally responsible for each and every individual in their command. And I think the drill instructors were under tremendous pressure back in those days.
When the Marine Corps basic training was cut...
Because they had to have quality, but they had to have quantity as well.
...to 8 weeks, it added additional pressure to the sergeant's job. The shortened time to get recruits ready for war made an intense process even more fierce.
I didn't know anyone that didn't raise a hand to a private, but it was a constructive raise of a hand. It was not a, I want to hit you so that I can hurt you and abuse you type thing. It was a, did you learn anything from that private? Which side was that private pile? Right side, huh? Or left side? What side was that private pile? He knows forever, the rest of his life, he knows which side is this, which side's the left side of his face and which side's the right face.
The world got a dramatic close-up look at sergeants training recruits when Full Metal Jacket was released.
Sir, I said it, sir!
Well, no what have we got here? A comedian, private joker. I admire your honesty. Hell, I like you. You can come over to my house and my sister. You little scumbag! I got your name. I got your ass! You will not laugh. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers. I will teach you. Now get up. Get on your feet.
My main objective was just basically to play the drill instructor the way the drill instructor was. Now let the chips fall where they may.
You had best yourself or I will unscrew your head and down your neck.
Kubrick ended up telling Rolling Stone magazine that 50% of Ermey's dialogue in the film was his very own. In the course of hiring the Marine recruits, we interviewed hundreds of guys. We lined them all up and did an improvisation of the very first meeting with the drill instructor. They didn't know what he was going to say, and we could see how they reacted. Lee came up with, I don't know, 150 pages of insults. And you know what? If that wasn't our Lee Ermey in a nutshell, I don't know what was. Folks, you're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct on the SHR Media Network. We're going to be right back. Don't go away.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads radio show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com. And maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
S-H-A-T.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. shrmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and Insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years. And finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of...
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show, live and direct here on the SHR Media Network, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. I am 2 miles in the SHR Media studios from the veritable belly of the beast, the Bill Mill, the evil Capitol building in Sacramento, Fornicalia. It bothers me to even say that. By the way, according to Kubrick, since tonight we're talking about Barbara Bush, who passed away today at the age of 92, Harry Anderson, who passed away 2 days ago at the age of 65, and R. Lee Ermey, who we're talking about now, who passed away Friday at the age of 74. And according to Stanley Kubrick, the director of Full Metal Jacket, Ermey also had a terrible car accident one night in the middle of production, and he was out for some months and then acted some of the scenes with broken ribs. However, it should come as no surprise, really, that Ermey was a conservative, and if you had a doubt about that, this should leave no doubt.
Hurrah! Can anybody hear me out there? I would like to salute the United States Marine Corps. Since 1775, They have been defending this country and doing quite a nice job of it, I might add. We celebrated our 235th birthday last month. For those of you who don't know, 235 years of protecting this nation. And we're going to continue to do it forever. And right now our main mission at the moment is Toys for Tots, and you all know that, right? Because when you see me come out on the stage here at the Rokan Show, guess what? It means it's time for Toys for Tots. That's what it means. And I got to tell you, folks, we're having a big problem this year. The economy really sucks. Now, I hate to point fingers at anybody, but the President administration probably has a lot to do with that.
I wonder who that was.
And the way I see it, they're not going to quit doing it until they bring this country to its knees. So I think we should all rise up, and we should stop this administration from what they're doing, because they're destroying this country.
I play this for a reason.
They're driving us into bankruptcy so that they can impose socialism on us, and that's exactly what they're doing. And I'm sick and damn tired of it, and I know you are too. But I know that the Marine Corps is going to be here forever. This administration won't. Semper Fi. God bless you all. Hurrah.
There was a reason I played that, and it falls back to this. Like many other actors in Hollywood who came out as conservative, once they find that out, oddly enough, all of his roles then dried up. The Marine turned actor told Fox 41, while his reality show is in its second season, he can't seem to find any other gigs in Hollywood. He said, "I've had a very fruitful career. I've done over 70 feature films. I've done over 200 episodes of Gunny Time. And then Hollywood found out that I'm a conservative." Actually, he corrected, "I'm an independent, but I said something bad about the president. I had something unsavory to say about the president's administration, and even though I did vote for him the first time around, I was blackballed." Now, he's an NRA board member. You may or may not have known about that. And he explained that his association with the organization and his disapproval of President Obama, he believed it cost him acting jobs. And he said this, he says, "Do you realize that I have not done a movie in 5 or 6 years? Why? Because I was totally blackballed by the liberals in Hollywood. They can destroy you. They're hateful people who don't just not like you. They want to take away your livelihood. That's why I live up in the desert on a dirt road. I don't have to put up with their crap." And of course, he owned, R. Lee Ermey owned a Golden Globe as Sergeant, or Gunnery Sergeant Hartman in Full Metal Jacket. And then there was this. I don't know if you remember this. I used to love to watch this show. This was a lot of fun.
It's Gunny Time! Get some!
Nothing like the gunny with a minigun. But I told you that there was going to be something even better than that. Do you guys remember this? This was one of my all-time favorite commercials. And you may think, commercials? BZ, what the hell are you talking about?
Could switching to Geico really save you 15% or more on car insurance? Does a former drill sergeant make a terrible therapist?
And that's why yellow makes me sad, I think.
That's interesting. You know what makes me sad?
You do! Maybe we should chug on over to Mamby-Pamby land, where maybe we can find some self-confidence for you, you jackwagon!
Tissue? Right, baby.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
And then he throws the tissue box at the guy and says, "Crybaby." Okay, in today's environment, that shouldn't be funny, but I found that very, very funny. You know what? God bless you, Gunny. Apparently God had a need for gunnery sergeants up in heaven. You know what? We miss you already. I've got some more things coming up here. But I had to get through that to get to this, because I always like to at least throw this into the mix in every show when I possibly can.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
And tonight I'm going to read you a story about the blue wave. And this is from Kurt Schlichter. I always enjoy reading a good Kurt Schlichter article. This is from townhall.com. And we've been told, haven't we not been harangued by the Democrats that, there's going to be this massive blue wave in November. Well, here's an article by Kurt Schlichter. It says, showdown in November? Fearsome blue wave or flaccid Democrat failure. There's a huge opinion schism between conservatives inside the Beltway who think a midterm Democrat tsunami is coming, and many conservatives outside the swamp in America who are not so sure. One thing is certain, the gimp box media and the left's Fredo-con enablers are working overtime to psych us out and make defeat a done deal. But nothing is a done deal. We have 6 months. The Republicans just need to get smart and fight. Well, we're doomed. But maybe not. There's always hope for an upset. Just ask President Felonia Milhouse von Pantsuit. First, the bad news. The liberals are angry and they're motivated and they're clearly going to vote. The big question is whether they're going to manifest in much higher than usual numbers in patriotic districts now held by Republicans, instead of merely running up the score in places like the shooting gallery districts of Chicago or the feces and syringe districts of San Francisco that already go 70% Democrat. So those hellholes double the number of voters and go 80% Democrat? Big whoop. It's the toss-up districts we need to worry about, ones where the elections are usually close and demographics indicate a lot of fussy soccer moms who think Trump is icky and who might let that outweigh their tax cuts and fattened 401ks. A lot of those districts are repped by soft, lazy GOP incumbents who aren't in fighting shape, and this cycle the weak shall be culled from the herd. Democrats are trying to be clever, suckering the saps by recruiting liberal vets and law enforcement where they can, and playing these collaborators off as something other than the hard left goose-steppers the modern Democrat Party demands. Now, that bait-and-switch strategy worked in 2006 when a bunch of alleged moderates got elected and promptly did everything Nancy Pelosi told them to. They no longer exist, the voters having wised up. The Democrats are hoping the voters forgot so that they can run the same grift again. But the Democrat Party changed in the last dozen years. There's no room anymore for the kind of Democrat who caters to his district's needs instead of heeding the commands of the Gino beanie-wearing resist #commando weirdos. Democrat primary voters may well choose not to play ball and nominate the loonies. Well, the ones who are openly loony instead of the ones who pretend to be sane but who will inevitably go loony left once they get ensconced into D.C. Now, the Dems played it smart with that Connor Lamb guy who could be a wimpy Republican based on his pretend positions. It didn't help that the GOP picked a stiff to run against him, one who was expressly anti-union in a union district to boot. Yet Lamb still barely won. So a little more enthusiasm by the GOP voters, and he'd be another crushed Dem dream. Even Roy Moore barely lost. But we could make it a little easier on ourselves in the future by not nominating creepy weirdos. Yes, the Democrats do have a major advantage in the fact that the Republican establishment, especially in Congress, is largely a gaggle of drooling idiots. From Sissy Sass to Foamy Marco, these fussy failures seem determined to demoralize the base with their tedious moralizing about how we're better than that and, oh, well, I never. The GOP would have no problem if these dorks had just 1/10 the will to win as they do the will to posture for the benefit of a liberal media that hates them and that will disembowel them the moment they stop being useful idiots and become merely idiots. A bunch of Republicans are retiring, but then a lot of them are squishes who frankly don't fit with the GOP base anymore. The base now demands results, which makes Congressing a lot less fun than it used to be. These time servers hate when stuff like results are expected of them. Paul Ryan is leaving too, luckily for the GOP. Nancy Pelosi is not. Ryan's departure may or may not have to do with him not wanting to be held responsible for November, and it's a mixed blessing. On one hand, he's a prodigious fundraiser, and the GOP is raking in the bucks, which is good. But Ryan seems AWOL on the doing something front. Wait, he would really like to get DACA done before he leaves because nothing excites the Republican base like giving illegal aliens amnesty. Oh, this is why I like Kurt Schlichter. If Ryan was the selfless guy we keep hearing about, he'd ditch the speakership now and turn it over to someone who wants to get aggressive and get the base excited. But no, because at heart, what is important to establishment GOPers is maintaining their sinecures, keeping the country conservative. Not so much. Conservatism is something you yak about during the election year, but never actually get around to doing. You know, it's not who we are or something, you know. Mitch McConnell, who swings from being awesome, Justice Gorsuch, to being awful, everything else, is doing the same treading water thing. The base is furious that he's letting the Dems bottle up the nominations of conservative heroes like maybe someday Ambassador to Germany Rich Grenell. Mitch huffed and puffed about keeping the Senate in session to hold the confirmation debate, but he rolled over and, as Kurt was writing this article, actually the Dems from red states whose seats they could snatch are back home campaigning. So Kurt Schlichter writes, that's a win-win for the Democrats. This is baffling because imagine the energizing effect on our voters' morale if Mitch had these wheezy Democrat windbags on the Senate floor in their jammies at 2:30 a.m. Saturday trying to explain why their party is discriminating against a gay nominee. Then there's the Trump factor. First, if you saw his CPAC or other recent speeches, you'll know he's totally committed to winning the midterms. The guy's a competitor, and they have not yet beaten him. While the D.C.-NYC axis has decreed that he's hated and loathed and hated some more, that's not exactly showing up in the polls. Rasmussen has him at around a 50% approval. By the way, I should note that it's now up to 51%. I got to take the percents when I can. And the economy is improving just like he promised out here. Beyond the Beltway, nobody seems to be really abandoning Trump. The danger is the other side's base is activated. But how will the Dems activate actual normal voters? Democrats may have to run on the platform of, don't believe your lying eyes about the economy getting better. Instead, let's spend 2019 impeaching Trump for cavorting with formerly hot women over a decade ago. Now, impeachment is a key issue the GOP can exploit because a big part of the idiot core that buffoons like Ted Lieu and Maxine Waters catered to is going to demand impeachment. The fact that there is no crime, that's completely irrelevant. Mueller has nothing, as we all know, and Trump is already following the strategy of taking his case against this corrupt, conflicted deep state back to the people. James Comey's embarrassing self-immolation is also helping diffuse this bogus crisis. That looming doofus with his petty whining about his hurt feelings and his mean girl snippiness has turned himself into a punchline. Oh, well, I never bothered to tell Trump that the PP dossier came from Hillary's campaign because of integrity. That's it. The disgraceful violation of basic rights, that was the Michael Cohen raid, and we're going to get into that, Hey, who needs due process or the attorney-client privilege when you're hashtag resisting? That showed the base what's really going on. This is serious stuff. If these creeps retake power, what makes anyone think they'll ever let it go again? So, November is more than just a political scuffle. It's existential. When you have Democrat tech titans squealing over the thought of a civil war, by the way, if you haven't, go back to last Wednesday's show, the very first Sackheads Against Tyranny, and Sackhead Clint and I discussed one article by Peter Layden, the entire show, about how the leftists want nothing but to bleed us, slit our necks, and watch us die forever. And they want to be elected in perpetuity, period. End of statement. We either win in November, or the most dire hypotheticals of our country being split apart or even in conflict might well migrate from the fiction stacks to the nonfiction section. Republicans, Kurt Schlichter writes, get it together. Defy our expectations. Get smart and fight. And so after that, I went snooping around, and I found some things about this alleged blue wave, and then I found some information, and this is from an article from, let's see, PJ Media. This is the headline: Poll, Democrats lead in intensity but fall short of House takeover. And I find that kind of interesting. So this is leading to, and I got about another 6 minutes or so before the top of the hour break. This is very interesting. If you follow the news, you know that Republicans are in deep trouble 6 months out from the midterm elections in November. But to hear Democrats tell it the election is in the bag and Nancy Pelosi is already measuring for new drapes in the Speaker's office. However, a new NBC Wall Street Journal poll casts a bit more realistic light on Democrat chances. There's little doubt that Trump hatred is giving the Democrats an edge in voter intensity, but the numbers that would signal a blue wave just aren't there. And against all odds, the president's approval numbers are as high now as they've ever been since he was inaugurated. This is very interesting. In the poll, Democrats enjoy a 7-point advantage in congressional preference, with 47% of voters wanting a Democrat-controlled Congress, and with 40% preferring a GOP-controlled Congress. That's down, okay, folks? That's down from the Democrat 10-point edge just in March, 50% to 40%, although the change is well within the poll's margin of error. So this article from PJ Media, very, very interesting. And, yeah, they have a lot of intensity, but you have to understand everything essentially that's going on. And basically, like it's like this. Polling in advance, this far in advance of an election, let's be honest, it's pretty much worthless when you get right down to it. The thing you have to understand, and I think this is imperative, is that leftists, the Democrats, by way of the American media maggots, use polls to craft opinions and to shape opinions. It's not about reflecting opinions, it's about making them. So that's why that particular article by PJ Media, I find that very interesting. Oh, and the other poll that I mentioned, the Rasmussen poll, here's another bit of stat that I got off of that, and this has nothing to do with the elections in November. Trump is sitting at 51% popularity right now. And again, I mentioned, he's more popular in America than Justin Trudeau is in Canada. Angela Merkel is in Germany. May is in the UK, and Macron is in France. But nobody tells you about that. Nobody wants to let you know. So the Democrats are talking about this thing called intensity, and all I have to say before the top of the hour, and I'm going to get to some very interesting things here. The bottom line for now is, Trump is something different, his favorability, but don't put your eggs in the poll baskets right now. Their purpose is not to reflect anything accurately, but to craft a narrative, okay? This so-called blue wave can be nothing but just a wave of unmitigated bullshit. And you and me have the ability and the opportunity to make sure that it never happens. Okay, first and foremost, I got to tell you this. You cannot afford to stay away from the polls in November. We have to vote in regional and local and special elections. We can't afford to stay home. It's for all the cards, all the power, all the control, and moreover, it's for a chance to continue with the bulk of things that are being righted after having been destroyed the past 8 years under Barack Hussein Obama. Leftists, the Democrats, the American media maggots, they're going for the throat, okay? Like never before, because they just assumed that they were going to waltz right into the White House on the heels of Hillary Rodham Clinton. Never, let me repeat that, never in the history of political history, even with Dewey and Truman, have leftists gotten things this wrong before. And having pulled every fucking dirty trick they could possibly conjure during the election race and afterwards as well. So they are in absolutely no mood, okay, to stop for any reason. Nothing is going to get in their way. Consequently, let me make this clear. Nothing should get in our way. I want to emphasize this. You got to remember, we would never have known a fraction of the crap that we know now had Hillary Clinton gotten the presidency. We wouldn't have known that she bought and paid for a false dossier in order to slaughter the election and bring down Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on top of his head. We would never have known the depth and breadth of the abject betrayal visited upon Americans by the likes of people like James Comey, Rod Rosenstein, Andrew McCabe, Loretta Lynch, and the veritable cast of hundreds and hundreds of people who worked so diligently in front of the camera and behind the scenes to enable what I call a soft coup on America against the United States of America. In order, like I've said before, in order to derail a presidential candidate, a president-elect, and now a sitting president. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, okay? The four branches of government, as everybody knows, the legislative, the judicial, the executive, and the fourth branch of government, the deep state. And I could make an excellent argument for saying that, you know what, the deep state is damn near as powerful on occasion, sometimes more so, than the other three. Okay, so when I made a happy story out of this, I'm trying to illustrate a point for everybody. And that's that it's not in the bag, it's not a given, it's not a gimme for the Democrats either, okay? Conservatives are going to have to work hard, and they're going to have to show up, and we are going to have to show up to make our voices heard and our thoughts and wishes known. Because leftists, Democrats, the American media maggots, they are only about, and I know I'm late for the break. Well, not quite late yet. No, I'll get to it. I want to wrap up this point. These folks, Democrats, leftists, the American media maggots, they're about these things, period, end of statement. Money, power, and control as I say, in perpetuity, now and forever. Therefore, more rules, more regulations, more and bigger government, and more spending. And so, as far as they're concerned, here's what you are to them. You're a serf. You're a prole. You're a groundling. You're a peasant. You're a peon. You are a vassal. You are a servant. As far as they're concerned, you are chattel. They own you. They want to own you now, outright, and forever. And I'm insisting to you right now, especially with regards to November, you can never allow that to occur.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
S-H-A-T.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. Insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. It is the second hour, hour number 2. As you're listening to me right now on shrmedia.com, or you happen to be watching on the SHR Media Facebook page or the SHR Media YouTube channel. We paid tribute earlier in the hour to Arlie Ermy, who passed away at the age of 74, to Barbara Bush, who just passed away today at the age of 92, and to Harry Anderson, who passed away this weekend at the age of 65. And I told you that I'm going to get into some of the deep state stuff, and I am, because here's some of the things that I've dredged up that you have not heard about. I've referred you to this website a number of times, and it's where I find a lot of really good stuff. I look all over the globe to try to find things for the show, because you can't find it all, obviously, clearly, on American media. This one, however, is from Sarah Carter, and Sarah Carter is an actual, real, honest-to-damn God investigative journalist, and she came up with this particular article. And the headline is Collusion Delusion. New documents show Obama officials and the FBI coordinated in anti-Trump probe. So, have you heard this trumpeted all across the fruited plain? By the way, the sub-headline to this is Former Senator Harry Reid asked James Comey to investigate Trump. So these days, it's all about Jimmy Comey's book and his boo-hoo-hoo and his faux tears, all 6'8" of this pussified individual who, thank God, used to be and is no longer the director of the FBI. He has brought massive amounts of shame and lack of confidence in the ability of the FBI to principally do much of anything anymore. The line-level agents are ashamed. They won't ever tell you that, but I talk to them. And they're ashamed of Jim Comey. And they're not really superbly happy with Christopher Wray these days. He'll just have to do, however, for the time being. Documents obtained by congressional investigators suggest possible coordination by Obama White House officials, the CIA, and the FBI into the investigation into President Donald Trump's campaign. Those senior Obama officials used unsubstantiated evidence to launch allegations in the media that the Trump campaign was colluding with Russia during the run-up to the 2016 presidential election, according to newly discovered documents and communications obtained by Congress. The documents also reveal that former Senate, and I'll wager you haven't heard this. The documents reveal that former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, Democrat of Nevada, sent a letter on August 29, 2016, asking former FBI Director James Comey to investigate the allegations which were presented to him by then CIA Director John Brennan. Brennan had briefed Reid privately days earlier on the counterintelligence investigation, and documents suggesting Reid was also staying in close touch with Comey over the issues. Now stop. Just for a second, step back. Hasn't it been literally now for over a year and a half, that leftists, Democrats, and particularly the American media maggots have been insisting that the alphabet agencies don't have any, that the alphabet agencies are completely apolitical and don't have an ounce of bias between them? John Brennan, James Comey, FBI, CIA, they don't have an ounce of bias between them. Right. And now you wonder how that happened. Well, let's go to another article. Here's another article, and it's by... oh, wait, am I going to reveal some information about another alphabet agency? Well, that would be correct, because we talked about Comey. We talked about Brennan. Who else have we left out of the mix? Well, again, we're going back to sarahcarter.com, which I highly recommend. Here's an article, headline. Hope you're sitting down for this one, because the left says this just doesn't happen. This doesn't happen. Don't look over there. Former DNI James Clapper, DNI, Director of National Intelligence, who is over the CIA director, by the way. The DNI is over the CIA director, whoever he or she happens to be. Former DNI James Clapper allegedly leaked to CNN. Investigation revealed. House Intelligence Committee finds no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. But this doesn't fit the narrative. This doesn't fit the meme. You've not heard that Clapper leaked to CNN. Have you? It's all forgotten. Nothing to see here. Move right along. Former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper allegedly leaked information to CNN early last year regarding the classified briefings given to then-President-elect Donald Trump and President Barack Obama on the salacious dossier, claiming the Russians had compromising information on the president-elect, according to government sources who noted the evidence of the leak was collected during the House Intelligence Committee's Russia investigation. Clapper, who was one of 4 senior Obama administration officials to attend the briefing with the presidents, also stated his profound dismay at the leaks in an official statement issued in January 2017, and warned that the leaks were extremely corrosive and damaging to national security, according to his press release. However, Texas Republican Mike Conaway announced Monday in a press release that the committee found no evidence of Russian collusion with the Trump campaign. The Republican members released only a portion of the committee's findings in the late afternoon. The full report will undergo a review to ensure it doesn't reveal or damage national security. We've interviewed all the folks we need to, Conaway told Fox News. We could find no evidence of collusion between either campaign and the Russians. Conaway said the committee did, however, find evidence of Russian interference in the 2016 election. A one-page assessment of the findings stated the draft report will be provided to the committee minority on March 13th for review. Since the start of the House Intelligence Committee investigation, the committee majority and minority agreed to 4 parameters for the investigation. So they conducted interviews, and they determined that Clapper, former CIA Director John Brennan, former FBI Director James Comey, and National Security Advisor Mike Rogers agreed to brief both Obama and Trump on the dossier in early January 2017. Comey briefed Trump, sharing a 2-page summary with him on the contents of the dossier. And, according to government sources, Clapper, who is not mentioned in the report released Monday, had spoken to CNN at roughly the same time Jake Tapper broke the first story regarding the briefings conducted by senior intelligence officials with Trump and Obama on the dossier. Deep State? Here it is. Oh, if you think that the interference or the bias and the political nature of the FBI stopped there, of course it didn't. There are the Indians, and then there are the chiefs. And sometimes the Indians really try to give a heads up to the chiefs, but the chiefs have to be willing to listen. This is from thehill.com. FBI supervisor warned Comey in 2014 that warrantless surveillance programs were ineffective. Well, wait. Isn't that exactly what the FBI got involved in with the dossier, so to speak. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
2001 terror attacks, the FBI began to search for terrorism and espionage ties inside the telephone and internet records of Americans that had been intercepted by the National Security Agency. The initiative is now widely known as the NSA program, or the Warrantless Surveillance Program, because the data retrieved is initially collected without a warrant, though the FBI does have court permission to look at it. Retired FBI Special Agent Bassem Youssef told The Hill he warned former FBI Director James Comey years ago this program was highly ineffective in actually catching terrorists and needed to be modified to protect the privacy of Americans.
Protect the privacy of Americans, and it was already, he believed, not effective on terrorists. Well, so isn't it odd that the same program was used and aimed through a FISA court at private American citizens who, what a shock, were not terrorists?
Youssef says Comey showed interest, but ultimately no action was taken.
My main concern is that we weren't getting the results that we hoped for, and that privacy and civil liberties would be affected. We have over 11,000 FBI agents that work in the field. And these agents are practically wasting time on these leads.
So that's great. If they're wasting time on terrorist leads, well, it's not producing anything. Why don't we focus our eyeballs on political opposition individuals like Donald John Trump? Not Obama. That would be too judgmental. Now let's move on. Do you remember that there was an individual who happened to escape Al-Qaeda and their captivity? And this individual has another kind of interesting tale to tell. Since we're talking about the FBI, he has an interesting tale to tell about Mueller and the FBI.
Let them be bad, and who turn their head need to be exposed.
New Yorker Matt Schreier, the first Western hostage to escape al-Qaeda in Syria in 2013, wants answers from FBI leadership and the agents who handled his case, including former Director Robert Mueller, who now leads the Russia Special Counsel investigation.
Oh, wait, you mean Robert Mueller isn't pristine?
Probably between my mother, my father, and me, between 50 and 100 complaints.
After Director James Comey took over from Mueller in 2013, the stonewalling continued.
I was demanding answers from him, and I never got anything back.
As a freelance photographer, Schreier traveled to Syria.
2012, Syria is one of the most dangerous places on the planet.
I thought it would be a great experience, witnessing history, photographing history.
December 31st, 2012. That's the day you became a captive.
New Year's Eve. Very special day.
Instead of crossing back into Turkey, Schreier was kidnapped by an al-Qaeda franchise.
Is al-Nusra really the worst of the worst in Syria?
ISIS pushed them out, but at that time, they were number one. They were the guys you did not want to be held by.
Schreier spent the next 7 months held in 6 prisons.
Were you tortured?
Yes. They caught me trying to escape, and they flip you over so your feet are in the air, and you're handcuffed, and they take a cable about this thick, about as thick as a nightstick, and they whack your feet.
6 weeks after his disappearance, Schreier's records indicate al-Qaeda began draining his bank accounts.
How did al-Qaeda get your passwords?
They put a piece of paper in front of me and said, basically, write down all the passwords, want your social security number. That was basically how the whole identity theft process started.
What did they buy?
They bought laptops, they bought tablets, they bought boots.
Did they buy crazy stuff too?
Yeah. They bought a Kama Sutra guide. They bought cologne.
At the same time,
a Kama Sutra guide and cologne. Right, good little muzzies.
Schreier says the FBI monitored the transactions, and Agent Perotti misled his mother, implying he had joined al-Qaeda and he was on a spending spree for the terrorists.
Why are they letting them steal the money? What's the angle? Well, what are they buying? They're buying laptops and tablets. If they intercept them, they do their little spy thing, and then they deliver them right into the hands of al-Qaeda, and they create basically a dream come true for the intelligence community.
You're saying the FBI sacrificed your safety in order to track al-Qaeda?
Yes.
Former intelligence officials told
Oh, no, that can't be right, can it? Bob Mueller, he's sacrosanct.
Fox Schreier's theory is more than plausible.
That's a big allegation to make.
I can prove it.
By April 2013, Schreier says Agent Perotti tipped her hand during a conversation with a government official.
Do you think that he joined them? I'm like, what's going on? She's like, no. We're pretty sure he didn't join them based on his financial records. Boom, she slipped. She admitted she was monitoring my financial records as of early April.
But did you hear originally what he said? What he said is the FBI agent told his parents that he was now in concert working with Al-Qaeda, which was a lie.
A government official confirmed Schreier's account to Fox. Nearly 5 years after a harrowing escape, he documented his story in a new book, The Dawn Prayer. He remains angry at how the FBI handled his case.
What I needed help with was reestablishing a life for myself, which means a new Social Security number and rebuilding my credit. I still can't get a credit card to this day. You have the Witness Protection Program. You give new Social Security numbers to murderers and pimps and drug dealers. I'm a witness too, and I didn't do any of that stuff. No, can't help you.
Schreier says the CIA and FBI debriefed him.
He was a useful tool under Bob Mueller.
You gave the U.S. intelligence
and Jimmy Comey
community a roadmap.
I gave them more information than probably 50 informants could have given them.
Fox News reviewed 24 emails, including correspondence with the Bureau. Citing an ongoing investigation, the FBI declined to answer specific questions and did not make Agent Perotti available. To this day, Schreier continues to get the bureaucratic runaround.
And what I got in return was lies, betrayal, nothing.
Which seems to be pretty standard these days for the FBI, wouldn't you suggest?
Incredible story, Catherine. I mean, basically, they realized that he was an in for them. So he gets captured, he's got his laptop, and they're tapping into that connection because the laptop's been taken over by terrorists and being used. But what about him? What was done to get him out?
Well, he says in the interview, and we looked at this for several weeks.
So what was done to get him out?
That he can't really find a lot of evidence that the FBI lifted a finger to try and secure his release. What the records do indicate is that the FBI had visibility into his financial records, and they could see Al-Qaeda was purchasing, I mean, in one purchase, 10 laptops, computers. That is not typical behavior of any consumer, let alone someone who is inside of Syria.
So let me remind for everyone who needs to be reminded, and that's this. What's the price for you? If you or me or someone else happens to go to Syria or somehow happen to be taken for whatever reason by Al-Qaeda, what's your worth to the United States? 10 laptops. And I bring you to another article about our glorious FBI. And you have to ask yourself, what is the FBI hiding in its war? And it is a war to protect James Comey. Why him? Why protect him?
Former FBI Director James Comey was reportedly interviewed last year as part of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian election interference. The New York Times reported Tuesday that the interview with Comey included discussion of the memos he wrote about his interactions with President Trump. Trump fired Comey last May. The move helped trigger events leading to Mueller's probe into Russian election interference, which is looking at links between the Trump campaign and Russia. Comey last year testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee that Trump had asked for his loyalty during a January dinner at the White House. He also testified that Trump pressured him during an Oval Office meeting in February to end the investigation into former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Trump has denied both claims and attacked Comey, calling him a leaker.
And oddly enough, that happens to be what precisely he is. So, okay, as the James Comey saga and the bookie tour that he's on right now with Georgie Stephanopoulos, 5 hours distilled down into one because it took James Comey that long to make any kind of a statement whatsoever. If you happen to see that interview with Steffi, it was boring as batfuck. I think I'm being kind. As the James Comey sojourn continues to percolate on, the legend of James Comey continues to unravel. The more we learn about his involvement in the deep state's illicit targeting of President Trump, the more reason that the American people have to question both his motives and his management as director of the FBI, the now disgraced agency he headed before Trump fired him on May 9th, 2017. And as I said quite some time ago, January 21st, the very next day after the inauguration, it should have been bing bong. Candygram for Jimmy Comey. Your bye-bye, sir. Get out of Dodge. But Comey has left a trail of bodies and deception and betrayal and, at best, suspicious activity in his wake. So he looms over a burgeoning constitutional crisis right now that I believe clearly overshadows Watergate, because I happened to live through that in 1971. And to make things even worse, it appears that some of Comey's former FBI and Justice Department colleagues continue to try to protect him from accountability. So 3 suspicious activities stand out, all intertwined. The so-called Comey memos, Comey's controversial testimony before the Senate Intelligence Committee, and Comey's book deal. So after Comey was fired, he arranged to give the New York Times a February 14th memorandum he'd written about a one-on-one conversation with Trump regarding former National Security Advisor Michael Lynn. That memorandum, by the way, after he left the office, that belonged to the FBI. That was governmental property, and James Comey leaked it. The New York Times published a report about the memo on May 16th. And then, shock of shocks, I hope again you're sitting down, Special Counsel Robert Mueller was appointed the following day by Assistant Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. And Jeffy Sessions stepped back, thinking that it's best for me to recuse. So, if you remember, back on June 6, 2017, Comey testified under oath before the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, and he stated that he authored as many as 9 memos. And regarding that Michael Flynn memo, Comey said, "I asked a friend of mine," turns out it was his attorney, "a friend of mine to share the content of the memo with a reporter for the New York Times. I didn't do it myself for a variety of reasons, but I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel." So you got to remember, though, just like I indicated, the FBI, and we're going to come back to this article, the FBI is completely apolitical and unbiased. Right?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads against tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
S-H-A-T.
Sackheads against tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same sack time, same sack channel.
Yeah. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for a good for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know, I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Love this. This is a great little bumper. Just like to listen to it. I was reading an article about the FBI covering for James Comey and why it continues to cover for James Comey. Since his forced departure from the FBI, Comey signed a book deal in August, set for publication, I think this week or next, if I'm not mistaken. And he's been given a whole bunch of interviews, primarily with George Stephanopoulos, for which he received in advance, I should point out, in excess of $2 million. Hey, James Comey is now a millionaire. And just when I thought that being apolitical and unbiased doesn't pay off, well, being political and biased is, in fact, paying off. Given the fact that the FBI appears to be letting Comey get away with stealing and leaking official government documents and colluding with the special counsel to get Trump, even a trusting person has got to kind of be suspicious about this book deal. The FBI, however, has managed in its infinite wisdom to fan all those flames and those suspicions by adding a new layer of protective stonewalling around Comey. Okay, so Judicial Watch, who I have contributed to, Judicial Watch has been forced to sue a recalcitrant FBI, I guess you could call them, for the records, including but not limited to forms Comey was required to complete relating to pre-publication review of the book by the FBI. If you think that you get away with writing a book about the CIA or the FBI or most any other alphabet agency, oh, no, I must disabuse you of that notion unless it appears that, I don't know, maybe you're somebody like the FBI director, James Comey. Did Comey's cronies give the fired FBI director a pass on that long-standing requirement to submit all the galleys for reference? Huh. And is that why, for example, they're stonewalling the Judicial Watch Freedom of Information request about that as well? So, what do we know about James Comey? Narcissist, an egotist, who, despite being 6'8", apparently can't stand up for himself and is afraid of way too many things, including Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. So if he was afraid of half of the things he said he was, why didn't he go talk to the president about it? Why didn't he go talk to his boss about it? Why didn't he go talk to, I don't know, towards the end, Loretta Lynch? Why didn't he go talk to Jeff Sessions and let people know what he thought was terrible that was going on? Yeah. So the American public deserves to know if any of Comey's former colleagues, we know many of them already aided in the exoneration of Hillary Clinton, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, the exoneration of her being written in draft form before she was even exonerated by Comey in that little stunt that he participated in. The deep state is in cover-up mode, period, end of statement. Continuing like this simply proves it. Now, Rosenstein, and I have to wonder, and perhaps with you as well, I have to wonder how long Rosenstein is going to be good for being in his chair these days. Here's Brett Baer talking about Devin Nunes, and Trey Gowdy, and the FBI memo that ended up kind of kickstarting that whole Russian probe.
Has just seen a copy of that FBI memo that began the Bureau's probe into allegations of collusion between the Trump presidential campaign and Russia. Chairman Devin Nunes had set today as the deadline for the FBI to show him that document. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge is here to tell us what happened today. Good evening, Catherine.
Well, thank you, Brett, and good evening. After threatening contempt of Congress, a government source confirms to Fox News that the Republican chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, along with Congressman Trey Gowdy, as well as committee staffers, went to the Justice Department late today, met with Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, and viewed a copy of the 2-page FBI memo that kickstarted the Russia probe. Well, not a clean...
Okay, stop. Let me stop here just for a second. This is not them viewing the dossier. This is not them viewing the affidavit for the application for the warrant against Carter Page. It's not that. This is for Comey memos.
Copy, as lawmakers demanded. A government source told Fox the redactions were, quote, minimal and justified. Based on Fox's reporting, the 2-page memo from July 2016 was drafted by or with major input from FBI agent Peter Strzok, who was removed from the special counsel Russia case after the discovery of anti-Trump text messages. On Fox last night, Nunes said legal action was warranted after months of delay by the FBI and Justice Department.
They're not giving this to us, tells me there's something wrong here.
What are the chances you're going to hold them in contempt of Congress right now?
Well, I can just tell you that we're not going to just hold in contempt. We will have a plan to hold in contempt and to impeach.
To impeach Christopher Wray?
Absolutely.
Stop right there. That's when I told you earlier in the show that the blue wave that's coming is not a done deal, and we have to get out and we have to be resolute in November. You have to get out and vote. We have to keep the House and we have to keep the Senate precisely for stuff like this, because it will be turned upside down and the government will go even more corrupt than it was under the 8 years of Obama.
We're not messing around here.
Despite the 11th hour resolution, Fox News is told that congressional investigators remain concerned about the memo's underlying intelligence and the credibility of the sources, and that it will require further investigation. We asked the FBI for comment, and we're waiting to hear back from them, but we did just hear back from the Department of Justice that said the remaining redactions are narrowly tailored to protect the name of a foreign country as well as the name of a foreign agent, Brett.
Captain, thank you. We'll monitor that.
And that means, of course, that the FBI will still continue to stymie as much as they possibly can. But remember I told you about the deep state. You want to hear some more information about the deep state? I bet you do. Things that you wouldn't normally hear on any other show. Liberal megadonor George Soros. You suspected, but now you know, he's bankrolling Fusion GPS, and that is information from a Russian billionaire. A Russian billionaire writes that George Soros, a major financier of liberal causes, is in fact funding Fusion GPS, the firm that orchestrated the Christopher Steele dossier. I got 2 more stories that are going to be revolving around this and the deep state, and especially when I throw out 2 more names, and all of this will definitely begin to dovetail with you, so please continue to roll with me on this. If true, it's possible that Fusion GPS's ongoing anti-Trump investigations have not only been funded by the Democrat Party and Hillary Clinton's campaign, but also by currency trader Soros. He recently pledged $18 billion to a cast of liberal groups and causes. $18 billion. The Soros connection was asserted by Oleg Deripaska, a Russian aluminum magnate, M-A-G-M-A-T-E, not M-A-G-N-E-T, as I want to say about Dan Butcher, whose name pops up from time to time in the Trump-Russia collusion investigation. Fox News acquired secret text messages between Senator Mark Warner, Virginia Democrat, and Senate Select Committee on Intelligence Vice Chairman and Washington Attorney Adam Waldman. Mr. Waldman represents that Russian Deripaska. George Soros, funding Fusion GPS. However, were you aware of this? Because once you start digging into this kind of stuff, well, I have to dig a little bit deeper as well. Here's another story, revealed. The Obama campaign hired Fusion GPS to investigate Mitt Romney. Remember that? The Barack Obama presidential campaign hired Fusion GPS in 2012 to dig up dirt on Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney. So Fusion GPS is well known to the Democrats as far back now, clearly, as 2012. The Obama campaign hid its payments to Fusion GPS through its law firm Perkins Coie. The arrangement is similar to the one that the Clinton campaign and Democrat National Committee used to pay Fusion GPS for its investigation of then-candidate Donald Trump in 2016. Stop. What does this tell you? They've done it before. In 2012, it worked then, and so they did it in 2016. But wait, there's more. A story just came out, and it was, let's see, I think it was today or yesterday. I just picked up the story today. This is from Reuters. And you may think that, oh, this doesn't have much of anything to do with anything at all until I get to a particular name, and then I'm going to make some linkage with this particular name now that you know how Fusion GPS kind of rolls with George Soros and leftists and Democrats and the American media maggots. Billionaire George Soros just recently got married for the 3rd time to a consultant. George Soros, the 83-year-old billionaire investor, philanthropist, and supporter of liberal political causes, married for a 3rd time on Saturday, tying the knot with education consultant Tomiko Bolton. Bolton and Soros, Bolton is 42, exchanged vows in a small ceremony at his Bedford, New York estate, which Soros bought in 2003 from Jurassic Park author Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton, by the way, great author, passed away of cancer. Hope you're sitting down again. I'm going to let you know about a particular individual, a name, who happens to be a federal judge. Federal Judge Kimba Wood officiated at the non-denominational wedding which was attended by members of the couple's families, including the groom's 5 children, a source familiar with the wedding told Reuters. Okay, now that made all the bells and klaxons go off in my head, because I happen to know who she is. So maybe you should ask the question at this point, who is Kimba Wood, and why the bells and whistles in Beezy's brain housing group? Kimba Wood, who officiated the wedding of George Soros and Tamika Bolton, is the judge currently presiding over the Michael Cohen case. And she's one of the, quote, foremost jurists in the country. She also trained briefly as a Playboy bunny, nearly became President Bill Clinton's attorney general, and has sentenced everyone from Wall Street heavies to Russian spies. So Wood has sat on the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York since 1988. Are you beginning to see some connections here at all? Now, we'll briefly, I've got about 12 minutes left. Jonathan Turley, I tend to read his stuff. He's sometimes a little bit too moderate for me, but now that you've brought up Michael Cohen, Trump's attorney, and what happened to Michael Cohen, Jonathan Turley weighs in with regard to Trump and Cohen and what he considers to be a trap.
All right, President Trump blasting the FBI for raiding his attorney's office, and who wouldn't, calling it a, quote, attack on our country. But this morning, our next guest warns it's all one big trap.
What kind of trap? Let's talk to constitutional law professor at George Washington University, Jonathan Turley, who joins us from our nation's capital. Professor, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so it looks as if they're going after Michael Cohen on bank fraud. Unrelated to the Russia investigation, it seems, but you say it's all about using him as bait, right?
Well, that's the point of my Hill column this morning, is that the president has to be very careful. The greatest danger that he faces is not Michael Cohen as a defendant, but Michael Cohen as bait. You know, the president was actually in a fairly safe place 48 hours ago. He was following his attorney's advice. He was prepping for a negotiated and limited interview with Mueller. And then
oh, but wait, that's changed too.
Suddenly this happens. And if, in many ways, this could be as cunning as it is hostile on the part of Rod Rosenstein. You know, he expanded the mandate for Mueller to go after Manafort on crimes that were far more remote than this. So why would he refer it to the Southern District?
Yeah.
Well, it has a real threat for the president. It expands the investigation, involves the Southern District that can prosecute it. But if the president reacts aggressively, he could end up triggering a far more serious problem for himself and his presidency.
Well, I mean, for one thing, why would Rod Rosenstein, appointed by the president, feel as though he had to be this aggressive, this hostile, this obstinate?
Well, you know, I think that, quite frankly, the president laid himself open for this. For months, some of us have been saying he needed to sever his contacts with Michael Cohen, who charitably is not the most respected attorney in terms of his conduct. And he also needed to get out of the Stormy Daniels litigation. Neither of those things have happened, and the costs are mounting. Now, that doesn't mean that the president is wrong for being aggrieved about his attorney and his, being searched. That is always going to be something that is a fairly extreme step. But the president needs to focus on the threat. The threat here is if he reacts badly, if he acts aggressively and fires Mueller, I think he's going to magnify the dangers for himself and his presidency. All right, let's talk.
I agree. I completely agree. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. He should just let Mueller go. Just let him go. Run to his conclusion, to his logical end, because I still insist, if he had anything, he would have laid it on the table by now. People know a lot about Robert Mueller, and they say that he's like a bad dog. Once he gets his jaws locked onto something, he will find something, anything, so that at the end of the day, when the conclusion, when the investigation reaches its conclusion, he'll at least have something to offer. It won't have anything really to do with Russian collusion or Trump, but he will be able to say that he made a number of indictments and he did his damn job. That's kind of the way that Mueller operates.
Talk about Loretta Lynch. Last night she was on with Lester Holt, and in the interview she said she never wished for the former FBI director James Comey to be fired, knew that the tarmac meeting would raise some eyebrows, and she said they only talked about grandchildren and issues of the day. Hillary's emails never...
Again, that's a lie, a naked, bald lie.
Came up.
A 5-year-old would be able to tell you that Loretta Lynch was assuaging the fevered brow of Bill Clinton. Look, the fix is in. Hillary's nothing's going to happen to her. I already have my lapdog, James Comey. I've been assured that he's going to find no indictment. He's not going to make any recommendation whatsoever for anything to happen to your lovely wife, Hillary.
Then Lester asked her about the issue between matter and investigation. Listen to what she said.
So Comey says you want to call it the Clinton matter. He wants to call it the Clinton investigation. To the extent, though, that he noted it, that it bothered him, did he go to you and question your credibility with regard to the Clinton case?
Well, yeah, I can tell you that, you know, it was a meeting like any other that we had where we talked about the issues.
They have to stick to that narrative.
We had a full and open discussion about it.
He didn't raise any concerns about it?
And concerns were not raised.
Right? Comey lied because Comey says he did raise concerns and he was so moved that he had to go and get...
Well, who lied? Someone did.
After the tarmac meeting, he had to go and make his little announcement. So who's telling the truth?
Well, this is not good for a book tour. You know, the book is portraying him as the stalwart soul who fought the good fight against bad odds. In reality, this is not just the first contradiction for Comey. You know, McCabe also contradicted Comey. McCabe said that Comey knew about the supposed leak to the Wall Street Journal. And so these are a lot of contradictions that don't help when you're trying to sell books.
No kidding. Democrats hate him because of what he did to Hillary, and Republicans hate him because of what he did to Trump. Who's going to buy the book? We'll see.
Well, not me. It may turn out that the $2 million advance given to the lovely, looming James Comey might have been just a bit in vain. Here's kind of an interesting piece that I dredged up about, let's see if I can get it to play now. It's Jim Jeffords talking about the swamp and trying to explain it. And in my estimation, he does basically the deep state. And he's explaining it to Jesse Waters. And let's see if I can get this sucker to play, because it's coming from kind of an odd source. Okay, Feats, do your stuff.
Yeah, there's no better definition of the swamp than this whole deal. So think about it. Rod Rosenstein writes the memo on why Mr. Comey should be fired. Mr. Comey's fired. He leaks the document to the New York Times to create momentum for Bob Mueller to be named the special counsel. Rod Rosenstein names Bob Mueller special counsel and is overseeing that. And guess what? One of the issues they're supposed to be looking at. Was it obstruction of justice in the firing of Comey? I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So the American people step back and say, if that's not the swamp, right, this roundabout thing they got going, I do not know what is. You need a Karl Rove whiteboard.
It's true. It's absolutely true. I found this interesting. Joe DeGeneva was talking about the FBI raid of Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, and essentially was saying this is nothing more than a fucking embarrassment to the DOJ.
The FBI has raided the office, home, and even hotel room of President Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen. Investigators acting on a referral by special counsel Robert Mueller seized records related to Cohen's payments to porn star Stormy Daniels. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice has put a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in charge now of releasing documents that should have already been turned over to 2 committees.
And yet, this has nothing to do, none of this has anything to do with Trump, with Trump's collusion with Russia or the election? 0, Z, null, nothing.
Those documents detail the FBI's 2016 investigation of the Hillary Clinton email scandal. President Trump and Republican lawmakers have accused the Department of Justice of slow-walking the request. It's got to be something beyond slow-walking. It's been 5 months. Joining us tonight is Victoria Tensing, a former Reagan Justice Department official, former chief counsel of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and Joe DeGenova, the former U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. They are the founding partners of the DeGenova and Tensing. There, I did it. I kicked both of your names. You know you're on the Lou Dobbs Tonight Show. I apologize to you both. Great to have you here.
Good to be here.
I'm going to rehearse, I promise you, from the moment we step off until next we speak, if ever you have the grace to show up here again. It's good to have you here. First, let's start with this raid, Victoria, on personal attorney of the president.
Yes. Mueller and his gang have weaponized the criminal justice system. These no-knock raids that were done on his personal lawyer's house and offices, those are kinds of tactics reserved for dope dealers and for terrorists. I know. I used to be a narcotics prosecutor.
And in the federal government, I used to do those as well. I also used to do them when I was in warrants. And you have to go to, at least, you have to go to a very specific judge to get a very specific warrant for no knock. If you don't have it delineated within the warrant that there is no knock, you have to knock and serve notice, make an announcement. And the reason that you ask for a no-knock warrant is because you are afeared that some form of evidence is going to be flushed, removed from the premises, destroyed, etc.
This is not the regular order for subpoenaing, and that's what should have happened, for getting records from a lawyer. You should issue a subpoena and say what documents you want, and then the attorney hands them over, which, as I understand it, Cohen has been doing all along.
Yep. And I have to stop for a couple of reasons. I have to stop because it's the end of the show, and but we will continue this tomorrow, by the way, on Sackheads Against Tyranny. I have to stop because it's the end of the show, and I have to stop because, well, it's the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed it. A lot about the deep state. It's very sad. We had a trifecta of deaths of great Americans this past weekend. Barbara Bush passed away today at the age of 92. We had Harry Anderson passing away at the age of 65. And Gunny, Arlie Ermy, passing away on Friday at the age of 74. God bless you all, great Americans each.
Monsieur has been lost.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can do so at bloviatingzeppelin.net, my blog, or on Twitter at bzep, B-Z-E-P, or you can send me a hate email at bz@shrmedia.com. My original intro music is by Possessed Tranquility. You can find them at reverbnation.com. Promotional consideration tonight is by the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, we ain't going. And also by the Pratt & Whitney Engine Company, Thrust. You can trust. Thanks again to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I will be consulting in less than an hour. You can bank on that, baby. My thanks to you ever so kindly for listening tonight, listening every night, so late, for being in chat, for watching the show, for listening. God bless, take care, be safe. Sackheads Against Tyranny tomorrow night. Be here. Oh, and I'll be back this coming Thursday. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jimbo.
Good night, and good luck.